When's the last time that you got your mind blown? You heard something, you learned something, you read something, you discovered something that made you, I don't want to say question everything, but it was, wow, interesting. I never really thought of that.
And yes, our adversities are tough. Yes, 14-hour days are tough. Yes, we have challenges and problems like everyone. But it's much better than the alternative, which is sitting on the couch, feeling sorry for yourself, doing a whole lot of nothing. Not growing, not learning, not striving.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode, episode number 1634, Can Your Values Change? Today, for episode number 1635, it is Freestyle Friday. As you know, Freestyle Friday, we don't have a title for it because I don't know what it's going to be yet. It's going to be based on our conversation right now, and we're just going to kind of see what happens. You and I were talking right before this, Alan. We were talking about how you and I both wish that we could change without pain, faster without pain.
Yep.
And I was on a podcast the other day, and I was talking about how one of the questions was, what is one of the lessons you've learned from doing as many episodes as you have? And I said, everybody has adversity. Even the people who don't think they have adversity, that's usually their adversity. I had someone say to me one time, I feel guilty struggling because my childhood was sunshine and rainbows compared to yours. And I said, I understand that. I understand what you're saying, but with all due respect, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. And I meant it in a loving way of like, dude, you should be grateful. Be very grateful for the childhood you had. That's amazing.
Yeah. But
just understand that sometimes the lack of adversity is actually adversity, because now you're thinking, well, I didn't have to grind it out, and I didn't have to have thick skin or whatever it is. I didn't have to go without, whatever it may be. So I'm not lessening it. Trust me. If you had a great childhood, awesome. If you are guilty about that, that's something to work through. So I'm not lessening that. But before this episode, we were talking about how we wish you could change without pain, and how I just don't think that's ever really a thing.
Yeah.
And if it was a thing, you'd never really... What a weird life it would be if one bad thing happened to you and then you just changed your life forever and then nothing else ever went wrong ever. It's almost like you never... How would you learn lessons that way? I don't know if you could ever learn lessons that way. Some of the most powerful lessons I've ever learned are based on moments that I wish I didn't have.
Same.
And I just think that's kind of the way it's set up. I think the universe, the world, everything, success, fulfillment, all of that is just set up in a weird way where it's usually, if you want something you don't have, there's usually some sort of toll you have to pay. Is that toll pain? I'm not saying that. Is that toll resistance? I'm not necessarily saying that. It's probably something that you don't necessarily want. It's probably something that you go to a restaurant and you get the meal you want and it comes with some sort of side dish that you don't like. Well, I really want this, but is there any way I can get it without that? Well, no, that's kind of how we make it. We make it with these vegetables. Do you want it or not? Yeah, I'll have it. I'll just eat around the vegetables. I think that's kind of how success is. Some things are going to come with it that you don't want, unfortunately. It's just up to you to decide how much of those things you don't want, how much of those you're willing to put up with, and kind of go from there. That's very much I think the frame I've been in based on all the stuff that we have going on. A lot of that, it comes with things that you don't necessarily want. But I think those things, as long as they're constructive, are good for you. I think positive pressure is important, and I don't know if you can change without it. So I would say lean into it if you can.
I wrote a blog recently about my struggles. It was the 5 S's of success: sacrifice, struggle, suffering, success, and then the last one, sustain, which you came up with.
Grateful.
Because you realized you've achieved many of your dreams, and then you're like, oh, now I gotta sustain this.
Yeah, it's just as hard to sustain.
Now I gotta sustain this. Like, oh, I bought my dream home. Wow, that's a hell of a mortgage, huh? So, and everything is like that, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, I found my dream partner, Emilia, over the moon, beyond my wildest dreams, quite frankly. And she's the hardest working person, I've said that many times on this show, that I've ever met. And sometimes that can be challenging in ways I never expected. But here's the key. It's better than the alternative.
Mm.
Emilia will always say, I'm so thankful that you're so grateful for me. And I always say, it's because I know what the opposite is. I had a relationship that was just so not good in comparison. And here's the philosophical question. If I didn't, would I appreciate Emilia as much?
Probably not.
I had a past partner who was not ambitious, was not hardworking, was actually quite lazy. And it was so unbelievably difficult for me to be myself and to coexist with this person. Now, a lot of that is on me. I take ownership for that. But when Emilia's working late or we have a ton to get done on a Sunday when I just want to relax, I remember that. I remember being in a relationship where the other person didn't want to get anything done, and I felt like we were going nowhere fast. And that's not fulfilling. Everyone has to find their own sort of level of adversity. I talked about this recently on the podcast. There's two types of adversity. There's the adversity that life throws at you. And that's a lot of childhood. Because childhood, you didn't choose where you grew up. You didn't choose your parents. You didn't choose what town you were born in. You didn't choose what country you were born in. You didn't choose your culture, your ethnicity, or your genetic background. You didn't choose your genetics. All that stuff was predetermined. But when you're born, now you start making choices, and eventually you become an adult. And when you're an adult, you really start making choices. And you have to remember that the two types of adversity. The first one is life throws a lot at you, and then you choose how to respond to it. But the second type of adversity is the adversity from climbing tall mountains. The second type of adversity is the adversity that comes from choosing in advance to do something great. A lot of people want to be a mother. Think about the level of adversity that comes with that one dream. Can any of us even imagine, unless we're mothers?
You try to imagine.
9 months, body's completely different. At least 9 months, depending. And then after that, sleepless nights. And then after that, right? So, but it's awesome to have that dream. What are you going to do? Not have kids? And that's an option too, by the way. For anyone who doesn't want to have kids, that's an option too.
It's the road I'm going.
Yeah. Although you've considered adopting, I know. So
that's fair, yeah.
we'll see. But if that's your dream, you're not going to be fulfilled not doing it. But you're going to hate when the adversity is coming, because that's human nature. And I think it's freeing, Kev. I do. I think it's freeing to be like, wow, this sucks, and that's okay. I just think there's something freeing about that. Having a kid, I think there's a duality. I think there's this is my dream and this is what I wanted, and I know what the opposite is, which is settling for less than my dreams. But this still kind of sucks. I just feel like I have home now. I've achieved so many of my dreams, the relationship of my dreams. We have adorable pets. But there was a time when we got our third pet, Tiger Lily, when I was like, this is the worst. This is ridiculous. It wasn't that bad. I know I'm probably being dramatic, but it felt like terrible, honestly. And I had this one tea kettle moment. I call it a tea kettle moment, where I just it's like the pressure cooker, and you just move the little thing and
you open it up.
Yeah, you open it up. And I was like, I knew this was going to happen, right? I had one of those, but I wasn't at anyone. It wasn't at Emilia. It was just like in the house. I knew this was going to happen, right? And what is this, right? What is this? This is I'm massively interrupted throughout every one of my mornings because we have, 3 pets that are sometimes obnoxious. And again, I know that's nothing compared to children. Here's my point. It is impossible to live a fulfilling life without adversity. And I think that it's impossible to grow without adversity. And so adversities get thrown at us, and adversities come, actually bigger adversities, come when you set big goals. But the alternative, and this is what gets me through, is the alternative is worse. Some people think life is supposed to be easy, and when it's hard, they think something's wrong. I think life is supposed to be fairly terrible, and when it's not terrible, I think that's awesome. And I know I'm playful with that, but I'm not kidding. Life is not supposed to be butterflies and rainbows. It genuinely isn't. We're hunters and gatherers. We're 200,000-year-old brains. We have a lot of technologies and comforts, particularly in certain countries. But at the end of the day, we used to have to hunt and gather our food. Now we can click and have something delivered to our door. I just like to keep that perspective. I love to keep the perspective of all of this is awesome. I have a 30-second commute. I'm talking to Kevin through the internet.
Through the waves. Through the world.
Waves
through the waves.
of the
through
world.
Technologies.
And yes, our adversities are tough. Yes, 14-hour days are tough. Yes, we have challenges and problems like everyone. But it's much better than the alternative, which is sitting on the couch, feeling sorry for yourself, doing a whole lot of nothing, not growing, not learning, not striving. I choose striving. I always have and I always will, and I am convinced that the human condition is unfulfilling without some striving. Everyone has a different level of striving.
Yes.
Everyone has a different type of striving. Everyone has unique striving. But I do believe that striving, not arriving, is actually where fulfillment and growth and contribution is. And I do believe that that's why a lot of people who retire early end up really miserable. You can hear these people's stories. There's interviews where people talk about how after I retired or after that person retired, they really went downhill. There's only two ways to keep your mind and your body sharp and strong, and that's to climb.
You do like pain more than most people, though, in fairness.
That's fair.
I'll give you that. I'm all for a challenging life, but I don't want it to be terrible. You know what I mean?
I don't know if I like pain. I would say there's a part of me that likes to challenge myself.
Yeah, that's fair. I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. This is a 2-minute question. You get a 2-minute answer. Okay? I gotta keep you on the effing rails here on these Freestyle Fridays. Freestyle Fridays are turning into Alan Fridays. When's the last time that you got your mind blown? You heard something, you learned something, you read something, you discovered something that made you I don't want to say question everything, but it was wow, interesting. I never really thought of that.
I would say there's small ones all the time. They're more iterative.
What's the most notable one? I have one if you want me to say it while you think.
Internal family systems always comes up for me.
Okay.
Internal family systems is a therapy modality where we all have different parts. You'll notice I talk from parts. So you're actually having a conversation with 6 people. I'm kidding. But I'll always say there's a part of me that blank. You notice how I say that? Mm-hmm. That's called speaking from parts. And you can look up internal family systems. The shortest version of it is Inside Out, the Pixar movie. And how there's emotions and there's disgust and sadness and joy and all these different emotions. Very cool movie. Very important. Very hyper-conscious movie. Hyper-conscious?
Hyper-conscious.
And there's a second one coming out, by the way, which I'm pumped about. But the point is that there's a part of me that actually does like pain. And that is the sicko part that you're referring to. But that's not all of me. There's another part of me that I refer to as Little Alan that doesn't like pain at all. And kind of gets mad at that other part when I never get to watch movies and
I get that.
Eat snacks.
Sure. I get that.
And so that would be the answer. What about you? NLU listener, what is happening? I just wanted to jump in here and let you know if you want to get to the next level faster, we have a free virtual monthly meetup at the first Thursday of every month, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can connect with like-minded people and become a bigger part of this amazing global community. The link to register will be in the show notes.
I was talking to you about some strange YouTube videos I was watching. I was watching just videos about paradoxes and just weird stuff. I just came across one, and I love that stuff. That's hyper-conscious in a nutshell. And one of the ones was I'm going to butcher it. I sent it to you so you can watch it. I'm going to butcher it. But it was a riddle where say there's, how does it go? There's 100 prisoners, and there's this room that has 100 boxes, and each box has a number in it. And the room holds every box, and it goes from 1 to 100. So you open a box, it has the number 1. You open another, it's 2, so forth, so on. The way the riddle is set up is if the prisoners all go into the room and they're all able to locate their number without talking about it, they can't talk about it, you get 50 shots. You can open 50 boxes and you have to find your number. If all the prisoners get their number, they're all released. If 99 out of 100 get their number but one doesn't, they all get executed. And the riddle was, what's the best strategy for them to do it?
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, like, I don't know, every other box, every third box, every fourth box. And what they found, and again, who is they, I don't know, is you open the box that has your number. So let's just say I'm number 9 prisoner. I go to the number 9 box, and I open it. And it's number 47. I go open box number 47. And then in 47 box, it has the number 12. I go to box 12. They said statistically that was the best way to do it because the numbers create a cycle, and a cycle has to have an open and a close.
Cool.
And if the cycle is less than 50 numbers, every person would get their number.
Yeah, which the chances of that are like 66%, right? Something
No,
like that.
30.
30% that it's less than 50?
30%.
Okay.
30%. But statistically, that's the best way to do it.
Because that's the highest probability you got.
That's the highest probability.
Yeah.
Then the thing that really blew my mind is they said this would be the same strategy if there was 1,000 boxes, if there was 10,000 boxes, if there was 1,000,000 boxes, if there was 1,000,000,000 boxes.
But the percentage of non-death in this case would be lower and lower and lower and lower.
Very
by
less than you
factor
think. Percentage, like 0.1, 0.2.
Really?
Because you get to open, if there's 1,000, you get to open 500 boxes. If there's 1,000,000, you get to open.
Yeah. Well, then that shouldn't
For
change
me,
the percentages almost at all.
It goes down a little bit, a very, very small
It
percent.
would go down a lot if you could only do 50 boxes.
Well, you'd be dead for sure, probably.
No, not for sure.
You know what I mean?
But
I would.
It would
bet.
be a lower percentage. Okay, with 1,000 boxes, if it was 30% with 100, it would be
3%.
3%. Yeah.
I'm not taking my chances on that, son.
No, that's not a great odds.
But that blew my mind. Because I had an idea. I was like, yeah, probably every other box, maybe. Seems good. And then when they said that, I said, never in a million, trillion, gazillion years would I ever have come up with that. If you gave me 500 guesses, I would never have gotten there. Ever. Ever. Because I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you would if you studied game theory.
Well, I know someone who has studied game theory. I've studied a little bit of game theory. You know what I mean? But not enough for that. I'm no expert. I don't know anything. If anybody asked me what game theory is, I would say it's the theory of game. And
game theory
things.
is a lot of things in a nutshell too. Okay.
You're a
How
lot
do
of
I
things
know?
in a nutshell. We
Yeah,
got to go
definitely.
soon here, so let's
I
pump
know
the
we gotta
brakes.
go.
Don't take it easy now. We
We're
don't
gonna
need
go quick
the,
with it. We'll go quick
You
with
don't know how to.
with the quickness.
Okay, go ahead.
With the quickness.
Go ahead with it.
Emilia asked me earlier. I'm going to read this verbatim. And
Okay, so this is how we know we're going off the rails, friends.
Definitely. She said,
What a nice word that is, verbatim. I love that word.
it's a good one.
Yeah, is that of what's Latin? Probably, right?
I think so.
Cool.
I made it myself. All right. Thank you, love. This is her thanking me. So this is her text. Thank you, love. I am on the prowl for resources to help me understand the mathematical ratios / formula for successful businesses. For example, understanding the principles between budgets, economies of scale, growth to revenue ratios, and wondering if there are principles that are applied to the most successful businesses in history from a formulaic standpoint that I could take into consideration as I rebuild Evolve. So that was the question. What she's asking for is, what would I recommend?
Detailed question.
Yeah, she's amazing. I said so this is my response. My truth is that until you read and thoroughly understand all of the principles in the Jim Collins books, then that's the best resources to build a company. Otherwise, it's more a matter of studying systems thinking, game theory, strategic decision making, constraint theory, chaos theory, and all of those meta sciences, and then amalgamating them into growing and scaling your business. The problem is that a lot of what most people are teaching is either outdated or just flat out wrong. I'd much rather you study first principles like game theory or formulaic decision making rather than any fundamental business book, except for Jim Collins' works. Those I do believe are rooted in universal truths that do still apply almost 100% in the 21st century and across all industries, with a few nuanced differences, of course, since selling personal growth is like is like clawing out your own eyes. I'm being playful. But the truth of the matter is, and for our listeners, why did I bring all that up? These fundamental truths you can study, and that's really what science is. Science is that thing that you just mentioned, paradoxes.
Which is the best.
The best thing ever. I sent Emilia all of the videos that you sent me. And for the listeners, a paradox is a duality. It's a, if I focus on fulfillment, success will come. It's a paradox.
You can't use the word in its own definition, son.
I didn't.
Well, I know, but you used it in a sentence after. It's like, it's two pieces of bread with peanut butter and jelly between it. It's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's like, no, I know that. You told me what it was.
I wasn't done.
Oh, sorry.
That was a powerful pause.
Okay.
I know we got to go. So a paradox is, and I think that, Kev, we really got to think a lot about what we share on this show in terms of paradoxes, because I think it's going to change people's lives.
Okay.
When you focus on your mission, for example, your purpose, your calling, I think the person's, places, things, and ideas come into your life. So, for example, when you and Taryn met, you were on your mission. You didn't know you were, but you were.
Fair.
If you focused on relationships, that might not have worked. Versus your relationship being a byproduct of your own pursuit of fulfillment.
I have
That's
a good
paradox.
I have a good example.
Okay.
Simpler one.
Thank
And then
you.
we have to go. There is a barber. And this barber lives in a village. And the barber only cuts the hair of the people who don't cut their own hair. If the barber cuts his own hair, could he possibly be the barber?
Wait, say that one more time.
There's a barber in a village.
Mm-hmm.
The barber only cuts the hair of the people who don't cut their own hair. But if the barber cut his own hair, could he be the barber? It's a paradox.
Yeah, no.
No, because he couldn't cut his own hair, but he also
Cuts his own hair.
cuts his own hair. So how would that ever work?
Yeah. It's like a catch-22.
Yeah, that's a paradox.
I think it's important to, and I know we got to jump, it's important to understand the paradoxes of life because, and that's why I was so pumped when you told me you were studying paradoxes.
I don't know if I'd say studying. I don't know if taking an edible and laying in bed watching YouTube videos is exact. I'm not taking notes or anything, but I am into it.
I would say that's studying. So
I appreciate
when
that.
Kevin said he was watching,
I would do very well in your class. If you think that's studying
for sure. And I asked Kev several days later, please send me those videos, and then I sent them all to Emilia. But one of the reasons we fail in life, seriously, this will be the next level nugget I'll give, is because everything's so paradoxical. That's one of the reasons we fail. If you focus on fitness, you might. It's okay. This is a weird one, Kev. I'll go quick with it.
Oh boy.
Okay. It's a weird one, but when you're making love and you focus on trying to come for females,
Yeah.
I know. For females,
it's worse.
It's less likely to happen.
Yeah.
It's a paradox. Whereas if you actually focused on making love and giving to your other partner and being in the moment and being present, it's more likely to happen. So I think a lot of life comes down to paradoxes that we don't understand, and we wonder why we're unfulfilled and unsuccessful. So that's all I have. I know that was a interesting example.
I just didn't see that one coming. That one came right out of left field. I didn't
think about weird stuff.
I thought you were going to say something about a barber in a village, and you come with lovemaking. I support it. I just wasn't ready for it.
Yeah, it's true. That's a good example.
Just a bit of a surprise. I've been reading a book, listening to a book. It is called "Come Together" by Emily Nagoski. Emily Nagoski wrote "Come as You Are." Great books. If you're in a relationship Tara and I are reading it together right now as we speak. It's a wonderful book all about intimacy and accelerators and brakes, and just, it's awesome. It's a really good book. So I would recommend that, and that's one of the things that Emily talks about.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
yeah. It's paradox.
we can make it's a paradox.
Yep.
I still like the barber cutting his own hair, but
You and I
kind of field the other one. I'll test
here's
that
a
out on other
paradox.
podcasts, see how that
You
lands.
and I are very different and very similar. Huh?
Is that a paradox, though?
It's a duality, I would say.
Okay. I'm going to have to do my research to see if you're correct on the definition of paradoxes.
Freestyle Fridays are great.
Freestyle Fridays are good. I got to reel you in, though, for sure. I got to keep an
definitely.
eye on you, because I don't know. When we don't know what we're going to talk about, I don't know what we're going to talk about. You know what I mean? All right, we got to
Let
go.
us know, listeners, if you liked this, if you enjoyed
please.
this. Please let
Please.
us know. If you absolutely hated it, please keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
No. Email me or Kev, Alan at nextleveluniverse.com, Kevin at nextleveluniverse.com, spelled just like it sounds.
I enjoy these because it does remind me of the old days.
Same.
I think it's just nice to have a conversation about growth without necessarily, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to do this. Yeah, my chair is still jiffed. I haven't had time to get a new one. We're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. I think it's just good to freestyle. So if you do enjoy it, please let us know. All right. If you have not gotten your tickets to Next Level Live yet, we are, 15 days out if you're listening to this, because it's 2 weeks and a day. So virtual as well as in person. We'd love to have you in person if you're local. It's going to be awesome. There's something about being in a room with other people who are just super into growth. The meal's going to be awesome. You're going to get a Next Level Dreamliner included in the price of admission. So please join us in person if you're local. Virtual is going to be amazing too, because we're going to have breakout sessions. And then we have another round of group coaching starting, when is it? April
9th.
April 9th.
The link will be in the show notes. Team of like-minded, humble, grateful, like-minded people. I always say, think about back in the day when you were on a sports team. Think about how ignited, how engaged, how motivated you were. A lot of people think, when I ask in coaching, like, when were you the most dialed in? When were you the most in shape? When were you the most on point? A lot of times people point to when they were on a sports team.
Yep.
That's what we're trying to recreate with group coaching. It's really something special when you can get a group of like-minded people all working and harmonizing toward common goals. Obviously, it's individual goals, but that's the idea. So 90 days, 10 like-minded people, tracking habits, and being consistent. If you really want a Mario Kart booster to achieve your dreams in 2024, group coaching is the way. Click the link in the show notes. The promo code is NLUListener. So type in NLUListener. You get 30% off. It comes to less than $97 per month for the 3-month program. You can pay all up front, or you can pay month to month.
Tomorrow, for episode number 1636, we are going to talk about resentment. Somebody on the team had a really powerful frame for resentment that they had learned. And right after they said it, I said, we're going to have to do an episode on that. That's going to be a super powerful episode. So we will do that tomorrow. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Talk soon. Next Level Nation.